Welcome to the second semi-final from the Kharak Cup number 2. This is of course a best of 3 series between Garmilator and myself. My thought process moving into this one was, well, I played as Galzian and got whipped by this guy, so maybe I'll play as Conef this time, see if I can shake things up a little bit. Will there be blast drones? There will be blast drones. Will there be siege cruisers? Probably, I'm not actually sure. Can't remember. Anyhow, here I am spawning down in the south with my Conef carrier that refuses to be painted. And spawning up in the north, it is going to be the gray on gray colors of Garmilator. As I circle around him slowly, trying to think of something to say. Right, well, he's put 4 salvagers on CUs, he's getting light assault vehicle fabrication, so nothing out of the ordinary for Garmilator. Space Runner, meanwhile, moving down here on the field. Honestly, I was not feeling great moving into this match here because I've played Garmilator several times now, but I've never actually found a way to consistently beat him. Like, if I go for sand skimmers in the early game right here and just try to win by sheer sand skimmer numbers, even if I get a second production cruiser, he just wins with like the turrets and stuff. And if I go for early game assault ships, like, I still get turret pushed and then he just transitions into railguns, gets his carrier power up, and then just murders me, so I'm not really sure what to do against Garmilator, but I figure that maybe if I'm just adding in blast drones into the mix here, maybe I can shake things up enough that I'll actually be able to get the win here. That was my only strategy. Like, honestly, I was pretty lost for ideas. Now, notably, as the Conef player, if you're going to make sand skimmers like I always do and make blast drones, it means that you can't make any salvagers for your expansion, so my economy is going to be a little bit slower, but I'm moving in already with 2 blast drones here. This could be huge. I've distracted the LAVs by moving in with the sand skimmers. It takes 2 blast drones to kill salvagers, and there are 2 of them here. The salvagers start running. Garmilator with a very good split there. Is only going to take 2 losses there, which is pretty impressive, actually. And now, in order to get those blast drones out, I had to not make 2 salvagers on that side. Now he's going to have to pull his 2 salvagers back onto his CUs over there, so looks pretty much even, doesn't it? However, he's got high ground on these LAVs. These sand skimmers really do not want to engage here. I think they're just trying to buy time for the production cruiser to get out. But this is a little tense here because, of course, I need to get out of this area without taking any significant losses. And you'll see off the back of that, I've begun expanding my economy. One sand skimmer picks the wrong path and gets sniped there. The other ones were safe underneath that the little bank there. The LAVs might find the base runner a little bit, but of course Conef base runners can put down that smoke wall, so shouldn't take any damage from this immediately. LAV's still out there looking for blood. Meanwhile, this base runner being super annoying, gonna set up a turret right outside of my expansion. And that turret, of course, has got range of the salvagers, so I've got to back away from there. Now he's basically denied my second base entirely, which has me a little bit tilted, naturally. Assault ship fabrication is almost finished for me. Still no other tech choices from Garmilator. I'm gonna commit in with these sandskins to kill this turret. But that's going to be big trouble for me because there's a lot of LAVs here and they're just going to come in after the turret is done and clean out these sand skimmers. Or at least they're going to try. I'm going for the slick escape over there. Conef carrier is actually quite good on the defense at the beginning of the game because it has speed and range for free, basically. Although, not very much speed, but more than the Galzian carrier. Showing off its awesome range abilities, right? Trust me, it really is so. However, moving this far away from the economy has meant that my economy is suffering somewhat. However, I have gotten an assault ship, and that should serve to help me in this regard. In fact, I've got these guys a little bit pincered here, so they're going to take a lot of damage. Although it's about time to back this assault ship away here, or else maybe it could even get picked off by these LIVs. We should really back away. Yeah, there we go. My base runner's back out into the middle, making more blast drones, so I'm going to go for another economic push there. And I have cleared out the turret from Garmilator, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. However, this one LAV here is going to find these 2 blast drones. That's pretty annoying. Actually, when it comes to fighting blast drones, you want to have your units like one-on-one like this. because what that means is that if I kill any of them, I'm still like an ineffective trade for me. So that's definitely the position that Garmilator wanted to be in with those LAVs. And now he's just going to try to secure his salvagers, make sure that none of them get cheesed out by these blast drones. And Garmilator's going to score the first artifact of the game. Oh dear, these blast drones not really microed properly, but they're not going to go down. So this threat is still up, but Garmilator's going to send some LAVs up on the top here. This is exactly how you want to deal with blast drones, and he should not take any significant losses from them. I'm going to see if I can get just one. No, not even that. Interestingly, there's quite a bit of like lag between when you hit the detonate button and when they actually detonate, so you have to like do it a little bit early, which is kind of annoying. But in fact, I was just playing a game today where like I got a blast drone on top of 20 sand skimmers or something, and I hit like D, and then it like didn't explode, and I was like, oh. But that's okay. Refinery mode is coming down for me now, and I have assault ships out on the field. My opponent, meanwhile, has gone for railguns, like I said he would. And I'm just producing some more sand skimmers because I feel like that's the thing that I really am lacking in. And Space Runner sending down a defensive turret. This is going to basically lock down any approach through the front door here, which means the Garmilator is pretty safe to move his carrier down there to take the third base. Excuse me. The LAVs have found a pretty good angle here, so I popped the smoke. Not going to take any damage on that base runner, but I am trying to extract it, and it's proving rather difficult to zone Garmilator out of this area so that I can get my base runner out. Interceptor fabrication was finished for me, and I'm now beginning to produce some of those units. And I'm hoping at the moment that I can get this artifact out if I use my armored vehicles here. These two, however, the LAVs would get high ground on them if they would attack. I think the LAVs could have killed one of these two, actually, but or at least gotten some good damage on it. But Garmilator's the coalition player. He knows better than me what you should do in this kind of situation, so I'll leave the judgment there to him. One railgun out on the field for Garmilator at the moment. That's all he's made, actually, which is kind of interesting. I'm wondering if he's like making a second support cruiser, because one railgun's kind of enough to deal with these like armored vehicles, but it's not enough to actually start pushing against your opponent, so he's not getting aggressive yet. So I'm assuming he's trying to expand his economy, but I haven't seen a second production cruiser on the way for him just yet. Oh yeah, look at that, it's building right there. Like the production tab doesn't really work a lot of the time with like double unit production, how like the coalition carrier can make 2 units at a time, or potentially 3. So that's what was going on there. We've got 2 interceptors on the field now. I don't want to reveal to Garmilator that I've got this until I am ready to make a hit. And I believe he would have seen them there, though. So probably I ought to just go for this railgun now. Although it is true that LAVs do pretty significant damage, actually, against Gaussian interceptors. So I'm just going to get some damage down on this base runner here. I could really micro these interceptors. Interceptors take a long time to drop their damage if you don't micro them. Oh, this base runner dropped a turret. I really could have killed that with the interceptors, but instead these sand skimmers are going to come in here. Oh, it's an anti-air turret post. Ah, so it seems I've made the right decision. I've got one assault ship in the back line here, almost killing salvagers, but not being microed, of course, because I'm a little focused on this fight over here. So that's pretty unfortunate. Second production cruiser, no, third production cruiser actually being made by me, so it looks like I want to militarize my carrier pretty soon, and I'm researching siege cruiser fabrication, so it's Conf, what do you expect? Garmilator's army, meanwhile, still has not been built up at all, which is quite interesting. How many resources is he stacking? Not that many. He must have gone for, no, not that many power reserves either. That's very interesting. But I imagine that pretty soon Garmilator is going to start really pumping out the military, and he's going to have tons of units here on the field before too long. Looks like my army is sadly a little bit out of position here. And these LAVs could come in for a really nasty push here. Here they come. There's one sand skimmer to hold the line, but that's not going to go very well. Actually, this is quite a disaster. It looks like a production cruiser even could potentially go down. Probably will. What am I producing to deal with this? Just sand skimmers, basically. So these LAVs found a really nice angle, came in and got a production cruiser. That's pretty bad for me to have that opening there. I'm going to come in with these sand skimmers and try to clean this up. What are the upgrades looking like? He's got the boost, I've got rating, so still no upgrades to the damage and armor of these units. But with an assault ship in the mix, dropping down tons of splash damage, that should go the way of the sand skimmers. Although focus fire could be a little bit better. Meanwhile, the interceptors have found a pretty good angle on these railguns, actually. And they, along with the assault ships, are going to clean those up, although it's flying way too close to the support cruiser. The support cruiser anti-air is so prickly. One interceptor is going to get sniped right there. One siege cruiser being produced by me, and that's going to come out just about now. There's no railguns on the field, so I feel quite comfortable pushing with these assault ships. And I can perhaps try to return the favor, do some damage to the economy of my opponent as well. He is on 3 support cruisers though, so his economy is fully fleshed out. And he's starting to get those power reserves on his carrier, as well as AAV fabrication, which I suppose is probably for the upgraded production. These turrets here are going to prove to be really annoying, but I'm going to clear them out with the Conf carrier. But the coalition carrier comes in to rescue the day, and he's going to pick off these 2 assault ships. There is a siege cruiser out on the map, which could do some significant damage. The Conf siege cruiser, of course, if you didn't know already somehow, basically just like is the most all-around unit in the game, like ever, because it counters quite heavily armored chassis vehicles like AAVs and also like sand skimmers and stuff like that. But it also can fight railguns quite well because it has the barrage ability. And then on top of that, it can actually do quite a lot of damage to carriers so long as they don't have power in the armor system. So siege cruisers are really annoying to deal with. You kind of have to have like siege of your own can do pretty well, or if you have a lot of railguns, but you have to micro them very, very well. So it'll be interesting to see what he tries to do to deal with this. These sand skimmers here found an excellent angle, but now they've just kind of stopped here. Just really push in there and go for the support cruiser. That's a little bit unfortunate, but shouldn't be a big loss for me. I have gotten another artifact out, so the scoreline is 2-1 at the moment. And that's going to allow me to use my cruise missiles to good effect. Have I guessed properly? Oh, well, I'm just going for salvagers with those. Looked like another barrage was used by the siege cruiser, but I didn't quite see where it was going. Another siege cruiser about to be produced by me. Garmilator is now researching Power Reserve 5. That's the big one because it unlocks the cruise missile. And actually, Conf carriers are notably one of the weakest in the game in this regard because the cruise missile does lots of damage, obviously. Conf carriers cannot run away because, well, the Galzian carrier can give itself like as much speed as an LAV. The Conf carrier can only give itself, what is it going to be, like 60 speed, which is like less than an assault ship. And so it's going to be really difficult for me to run away if I take a bad trade there. You know, if I get myself into a sticky situation. And with that cruise missile finishing in about 20 seconds, that is a real issue. So that's going to be something to look out for. The siege cruisers are split up a little bit. This one's here on the left side. The assault ships are dackering down away at this base runner here. Cruise missiles, oh, very good cruise missiles being used against these railguns. The Garmilator's timed this perfectly. His carrier is moving in here. The cruise missile is finished. Here it comes. It's a little bit of a miss, but the carrier still takes a lot of damage. It's powering up the healing systems, but coalition carrier, of course, very, very nasty. And he's just going to run in and kill this carrier right here. That's the end of that one. What can be learned from this? Well, Conf carriers do not do very well in the front line. And my big problem here is that I'm used to playing Galzian. Like, if my carrier was here and a cruise missile was launched, I'd be like, okay, power up speed and get out of here. But it doesn't really work as Conf. So that was kind of an anticlimactic loss there. You were getting excited, I assume, to see like these two armies finally get into a big exchange with each other and see who comes out on top, but no, I just kind of blundered my carrier and got killed. So that's the end of map 1. And that's going to have me slightly tilted, obviously, but I felt like I was doing pretty well in this match. And so we're going to see if I can keep that going in Game 2 or if I'm going to be out of this tournament. Welcome to Game 2 of this Best of 3 series. The second map on this one is going to be the Shallows. This is Garmilator's pick. It makes a lot of sense because he's probably going to want to play economically and try to defend himself against the Conf players' early game attacks. Kind of like we saw in Rompa Frolic versus Discara. You know, this like area right here is so hard to attack. Like blast drones are never going to be able to make it through here and attack the economy. And now Garmilator, of course, picked the map before that last match, so he didn't know that I was going to be doing a lot of blast drone cheese and stuff like that, but he probably assumed because I'm a Gaussian player who played Conf, like, okay, that means they're going to go for blast drones. Like, it's not really a secret there. Interesting looking carrier, isn't it? Oh, I love that sound just directly from Homeworld 1. It's a beautiful sound. Anyhow, Garmilator spawning up here in the north is going to be doing his typical build, and I am also going to be doing mine, moving out into the center of the map. Like I mentioned last time, I'm not going to be making, well, I say that as I begin queuing up another one, but normally I would not be making more salvagers onto this wreck because I want to get blast drones out faster, but we'll have to see what happens there. Let's see here. No additional tech choices coming in just yet. Excuse me. Oh, I can't cook on the sand skimmer. Okay. These sand skimmers going to be moving across the middle of the map. I'd love to snipe this probe if I can. A lot of bullets at it, but it's not going to go down. So Garmilator will have seen it, of course, like he usually does. It's now 4 sand skimmers out on the field to 4 LAVs. Like I'm always saying, this is pretty typical, since the Coalition player does build those faster, that it's difficult for the Conf or Gaussian player to get a lead in the number of them. But I found a very nice angle on them here, and I'm going to pick off an LAV for free. That's a very good start. It's now a 5-on-5. Looks like the base run is putting down a turret right there. It's going to be turbo annoying, of course. But I do see it with the sand skimmers. I'm going to attack it, but it gets deployed. And set to target the blast drone. Really clutch move there by Garmilator. He saves all those LAVs from the blast drone. That was beautifully done. Because that blast drone was going to hit, but the turret saved him. The sand skimmer here, not going to go down. This blast drone's going to kind of sacrifice itself to save those sand skimmers right there. Which I'm not sure I agree with, actually, but that's alright. You can see I'm stacking CUs here. I'm probably going to go for refinery mode before too long. No, it's a soul chip tech. That makes sense. I mean, I can't really afford to be too economic right here. This army is practically on the doorstep, you know, because once the Coalition player gets the LAV numbers advantage, he can just kind of run right into the base. I have got an artifact in my base runner, but no way I'm going to be able to extract that. And I'm really just hoping at this point that I can get a nice blast drone hit on these LAVs. Which could be possible from this angle. It's coming in. The Garmilator sees he's going to pull away. And there's no way I'm going to catch up to him there. A bit of an overextension with the blast drone. I guess I thought I could get it, but I mean, there's no way that was ever going to work out. Now it's 7 LAVs on 6 sand skimmers. Armor level 1's coming in for me, no upgrades yet for Garmilator. And that could turn the tide of things pretty drastically, actually. These blast drones so far really just have not given me any advantage to speak of. Garmilator in Game 1, of course, got hit pretty hard in the salvagers by them, but excuse me, but this game he's doing a very good job holding off against these blast drones, and has not taken any losses at all, I don't think, to them yet. So that's pretty impressive. He's picking up this artifact here, but I don't think he's going to extract it just yet. He's probably going to extract that later, but for now try to use that against my base by setting down turrets and stuff like that. However, I have got assault ships now, and so I'm feeling pretty confident, like, hey, I can get you out of my base now. I've got assault ships here. Refinery mode probably is going to come down pretty soon. No, siege cruiser fabrication immediately. That's pretty interesting. I say that my own play is interesting, of course. Oh, there's a turret here. What a massacre. That one singular turret just totally changed the course of this fight here. The LAVs were probably on top already, but at least I was going to get some good ground off of them, but because the turret was here, they just immediately killed all of these sand skimmers, and then I was forced to pull back again. However, the turret did get taken down. This assault ship beginning to take quite a lot of damage, but that should be okay. Aha, look at this. These two blast drones have made it through the lines. Actually, this could be big. Are they going to get through and do damage? I think they are. Garmilator, of course, being very good, splitting his salvages, but he's still going to lose 3 here. Wow. And I took out the base runner too while he was focused on that one. That was incredible. Honestly, like, I did not think it would be possible. This is probably sounding kind of funny because I was the one playing this match, but I've honestly forgotten what happened already. I didn't think it was really possible to get blast drone hits on the shallows like that, but they just totally got around this whole army. It's incredible. Alright, well, we'll see if that ends up being so significant in the end. Excuse me. Now, Garmilator's economy is kind of suffering, but he's producing railguns. The proper choice right here is there are assault ships on his front door. These LAVs not going to be very useful at all in this fight. Although this carrier in a beautiful position to completely block off this passage, and these assault ships may never be able to get through the carrier. Garmilator, of course, on top of his carrier micro. And these assault ships unable to push through. Of course, as perhaps you knew, the carrier can actually be used to like block off units from getting in. Kind of like buildings in Age of Empires and stuff like that. You can kind of have these clutch carrier block plays where like a bunch of assault ships are coming into your eco and you're just like, no, and you block them with the carrier. Garmilator showing that he's very, very good at that. Although he is going to suffer. Whoa, I mean, he's going to lose his carrier. Look how high up in the air it is. He's going to suffer economically because of that, since he's had to move his carrier out of the way, but this is very, very good for him because he's held off his attack of assault ships and actually killed off all but one of them. No, actually, scratch that, he did kill off all of them. So, pretty clutch play from Garmilator, and frankly, knowing that that kind of a thing is possible, I really should not have pushed in there at all. But I did. No going back in time to fix that. And that could honestly be what loses me this match. Because now Garmilator's army is looking pretty dangerous. I've got a siege cruiser about to finish, so these LAVs should not be an issue, but railguns, they can kill a siege cruiser if they get into a good angle. Base runner smoke and a delay for time just a little bit more. And the blast drones coming through the smoke, they're like the Zerglings with Burrow right here. Or Banelings, I guess, is, you know, more direct. Ooh, it's close, but they're only going to get 1 kill. Which often happens in StarCraft 2, let's be honest. These LAVs are quite damaged though, so the Sand Skimmers might be able to get a couple of picks, but it's probably not very advisable. And Garmilator just kind of trying to close the net here. He knows he's got me a little bit on the back ropes, moving in with these railguns. Although actually, looking at his economy, he probably wants to expand first, especially because he hasn't even got a single support cruiser. I don't know if his main is even fully saturated at this point. Yeah, it looks like it probably is. Excuse me. Now I, meanwhile, seem to have given up the idea of economy. I mean, what's the point of refinery mode? I'm just moving out in the middle with my production cruisers. That seems like kind of a choke under pressure here, because honestly, like, that's not objectively the wrong move, but probably. I feel like this is really suspect, having the production cruisers out in the middle like this. Don't do this, you bozo. It'd be a lot better to go for refinery mode, in my opinion. But hindsight is 20/20, so. The railguns have taken up a very nice position to avoid getting attacked at close range by that siege cruiser. A barrage is coming in, but it's targeted on that hill. Ooh! Oh my goodness! Look at that missile. Wow. You know, the Conef Siege, like, Barrage, obviously it doesn't do as much damage as the normal Galvatine one does, but I'm pretty sure, and I may be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure that because it fires less missiles, but has, like, almost as much damage as the normal one, although it is considerably lower, that the missiles that it fires actually do more damage per missile. And so sometimes, like, you're kind of playing with the RNG gods if you fire it at, like, LAVs, but sometimes the first 2 will land on the LAVs and they can just kill, like, 20 of them. I'm pretty sure that's the case, but I could be wrong. I'm often wrong. I'm just used to it by now. These LAVs have found a really nice angle to come in from the side. Meanwhile, the Coalition carrier is going to prove itself again to be the strong arm of the Coalition faction. It's going to push off this entire army here. I mean, it is supported by railguns, of course, but the base runner goes down, which is a little unfortunate. Yeah, that barrage, like, stormtrooper aim type scenario, like, hit around this border of the carrier, but didn't actually land on it at all. It's pretty funny. But the Coalition carrier, of course, he's just now beginning to research his power reserves, and yet even so, this is going to be like a real force to deal with because, you know, it's the Coalition carrier. It's super powerful. So I'm moving my carrier up to adjust. I of course have gotten an artifact out. I can put 2 power in missile systems, and the cruise missiles do actually a lot of damage against carriers. And then on top of that, I've got 2 siege cruisers. So I'm feeling like I can probably deal with this, but only if I bring my carrier up close. We will see if this turns out to be the right decision. This is a risky move by Garmilator. I'd like to make that clear. This could actually possibly turn the tide of things if it doesn't go his way. Barrage coming down from one of the siege cruisers, but not the second. Actually, this one taking a lot of damage. But the railguns are starting to do some serious damage to this Conef cruiser. And you know what happened last game? I mean, the Conef carrier cannot retreat very quickly. It could be that I just kind of kill myself again this way. The cruise missile's coming down, but they're not getting good hits. But the assault ships are trying to get involved too, see if they can kill off these railguns before it's too late. But it's looking like it's going to be a carrier kill for sure here. And the Conef carrier, actually getting hit by its own siege cruiser a little bit there, is indeed going to go down. At this point, it's basically a done deal. Once again, a little anticlimactic, isn't it? Garmilator just kind of marched up with his carrier and just destroyed everything here. I find that a little funny. But yeah, I feel like I really could have won this game. Some pretty poor choices from my side, but the biggest one of all, I'm sure, would be moving these 2 production cruisers out over here and trying to attack with them rather than just like, hey, I mean, I have 2 production cruisers, I know I did damage to his eco, why don't I just get refinery mode and then, you know, have 3 bases to 1 basically. But I didn't choose to do that. Instead, for some reason, I ran out there, and then he basically just powered up his carrier, even just a little bit. He didn't even need much. Drove up, tanked all the damage from those siege cruisers, and with his railguns was able to snipe my carrier. So, well done by Garmilator. He is going to be our other grand finalist. He's going to play against Descara. We're going to see some more Coalition versus Coalition action in the grand final. I'll catch you there.